Okay, Catherine, I've got your workup right here. Really good job describing. I think you're the only student that went step by step through the steps through the process. So that's really fantastic. Nice job there. Um, okay, let me go ahead and take a look. I've got your file up right here. Just want to get, okay, that's good. I want to keep this as large as I can so that we can, I want to kind of also do this. I want to get in here a little bit further, a little bit. Okay. So, okay, so the original image, and then a couple of recommendations between the first and the second image. Okay, so we've got a couple of shadows in some areas that we want to get rid of, okay? So in the first one, from the second one, you see that little shadow from the glasses right there on his skin that's going into his eye? Let's get rid of that. You got a shadow right here on the side of your face too. Let's get rid of that. A couple, oh, it looks like you got rid of some of the dust and scratches on his shirt. That's fantastic. A couple of flyaway hairs here that I would recommend also up there. A couple of flyaway hairs over here. Okay, other than that, I think you're looking pretty good. Now we go to the okay, now we go to, hang on one sec. My computer's not behaving very well. Okay, so let's go to the extreme version and we'll make a comparison between these two. Okay. Okay. So there's the original, there's the middle. So that's the one I just talked about. And that's the extreme. So I think that we really see some extreme in yours. I would recommend the teeth area. I'm not real sure what's going on there. I'm not crazy about the results. They look almost painterly. So I would recommend, let's just get out there on the web and do a how to whiten teeth in Photoshop. And keep in mind, there's so many thousands of tutorials online. It's all a matter of how you really frame your search parameters. So if you say something like how to whiten teeth in Photoshop, you'll get some great techniques. Now, one thing I recommend is when you do go out to the web, it's great for learning techniques, but don't take design advice unless you know the credentials of the person that's giving the tutorial. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind. Okay, that's why lynda.com tutorials are so great, because they're all top-notch, world-class designers that are giving you design advice. So, okay, so now that this looks good. Now, a couple of things I want you to do just for the sake of experimentation. Okay, let's do a couple. Let's get rid of these buttons. Okay, they're really super distracting. Now, those buttons right there. Let's try to get this to maybe mask this area out here to get a little bit more detail in there in that shadow area. Okay, get rid of those buttons here, here, and here. Okay, and then I think you're more extreme than he is, so I would add more work to him. All right. A couple of things I would recommend is in the filter, the liquify tool. What I would recommend is coming in here and let's make his face thinner. And I'm not saying anything about your boyfriend's face. I'm just saying that it's a technique that's widely used and one that should be experimented with and practiced with. So let's go ahead and try to reduce the width of his face a little bit here and here. Okay, I think that is going to be a really, really super interesting technique. And then just go ahead and add some vibrance and contrast to the overall image itself. That points to a levels adjustment layer or a curves adjustment layer, whatever you're more accustomed to using, whatever you find more intuitive. I think that most students find the levels adjustment layer to be a little bit more intuitive than the curves adjustment layer. So I would start with that to enhance the contrast associated. You might even consider masking yourselves out and increasing the vibrance and saturation of the background so that there's really just an extreme difference between the second and the third image. Other than that, I think you're pointing to a great direction. Yeah, it looks like you're showing good proficiency with the tools, but I'd just like to see a little bit more extreme difference between the mild retouch and the extreme retouch. Okay. Other than that, I think it's a great start. Good job. Yeah, it is. It's weird to change your own face. It is, and I understand the ethical ramifications. We've talked about that a lot in some of the previous posts, so I get it. I totally get what you're saying. It is weird. So it's a standard practice There are designers that find ethical issues with it. I'm not one of them. I personally, I got no problem changing the shape of somebody's face if that's what the client wants. Presumably, the model has signed off. The model has not made any pre-conclusions that now if it's a top dollar model, something that's costing us several $1,000s an hour, they might have a disclaimer in their contract that says no changing of the facial structure, no changing of the physical characteristics. That's quite common, but short of that, it's a very, very common practice. Some are done beautifully that you can't see it at all. And they provide enhancements and some minor facial characteristic changes. And there's others that are done horribly and we've all seen examples that are done horribly that just shouldn't be published anywhere, right? So I understand your concern in that regard. That's why I brought that up. But at any rate, I just like to see those changes made in your final submission. But thank you. Great start. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks, Catherine.